The gallery was burning. Not literally, not yet, but Lily Chen could feel it in her bones, that prickling awareness that something was about to go catastrophically wrong. The kind of instinct that had kept her alive through foster homes, bad boyfriends, and a betrayal so brutal it had left her heart in pieces 3 years ago. She clutched her worn leather portfolio tighter, rain drumming against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Manhattan Art Gallery as she stared at the empty space where her painting should have been. Midnight Solitude, her favorite piece, the one she'd poured her grief into, brushstrokes thick with loneliness and longing, had been sold. Again. To the same anonymous buyer who'd purchased every single piece she'd created under her pseudonym over the past 3 years. "Who is he?" she whispered to the gallery owner, a reed-thin woman named Margaret who always looked at Lily with something between pity and fascination. Margaret's smile was carefully neutral. "I told you, darling. The buyer values his privacy. Cash transactions, no paper trail. He just knows when you have something new." A chill raced down Lily's spine that had nothing to do with her rain-soaked jacket. "Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel, ****. I'm so glad you're here with me today because oh my goodness, do I have a story for you. Seriously, grab your favorite blanket, maybe some tissues, and settle in because this one is intense." Before we dive into this absolutely wild tale of obsession, secrets, and a love that defies every rule, ****, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below, ****. I love seeing where my incredible viewers are tuning in from. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. This channel is your escape into stories that will wreck you in the best way possible. Now, let's get into it. Lily pushed through the gallery's glass doors into the storm, her breath misting in the October cold. The city was a blur of neon and shadows, taxi headlights cutting through sheets of rain. She should call an Uber. She should go home to her tiny studio apartment in Brooklyn, make tea, and try to ignore the gnawing feeling that someone was always watching. She made it half a block before she felt him. Not saw. Felt. Like gravity shifting, like the air itself bending around a presence too large, too primal to be fully human. Lily's pulse kicked into overdrive, and she spun around, rain plastering her dark hair to her face. He stood beneath a street lamp 20 feet away, perfectly still in the downpour. Lucian Vanderholt. Billionaire. Recluse. The man who'd been haunting the edges of her life for 3 years with his unsettling habit of appearing wherever she was, cafes, bookstores, the farmer's market on Sunday mornings. Always at a distance. Always watching with those storm-gray eyes that seemed to strip her bare. Tonight, he wore a black suit that probably cost more than her annual rent, now soaked through and clinging to a body that looked like it had been carved from marble by a sculptor with a fantasy fetish. Sharp jaw. Cheekbones that could cut glass. Dark hair pushed back from a face that was too beautiful, too intense, too everything. "Ms. Hayes," he said, his voice a low rumble that somehow cut through the thunder. "We need to talk." Lily's hands curled into fists. "I don't know what game you're playing, Mr. Vanderholt, but I'm not interested. Stop buying my paintings. Stop showing up. Just, stop." Something flickered in his eyes. Something that made her think of wolves and moonlight and things that went bump in the night. "I can't," he said simply. "Yes, you can. It's called boundaries. Look it up." She turned on her heel, heart hammering, and started walking. Fast. She made it 3 steps before his hand caught her wrist. Not rough. Not painful. But absolute. Immovable. The touch sent electricity arcing up her arm, and Lily gasped, yanking back. He released her immediately, but the damage was done. Her skin burned where he'd touched her, and worse, worse, some traitorous part of her wanted him to do it again. Lily. Her name in his mouth sounded like a prayer and a curse tangled together. Please. Just listen. No. She backed away, splashing through puddles, rain streaming down her face. I've dealt with men like you before. Rich. Powerful. Thinking you can have whatever you want just because you want it. I'm not some painting you can buy, Lucian. His jaw clenched so hard she heard his teeth grind. Men like me, he repeated, his voice dropping to something dangerous, something that made the hair on her arms stand up. You have no idea what I am. Lightning split the sky, and for just a second, one impossible, heart-stopping second, his eyes flashed gold. Molten. Inhuman. Lily stumbled backward, her mind screaming that she'd imagined it, that it was just the storm, just the reflection of streetlights, just. I have been patient, Lucian said, and he was moving toward her now, slow and predatory, a hunter closing in on prey that didn't even know it was being stalked. I have watched you from the shadows. I have bought every piece of your soul you poured onto canvas because it was the only way I could hold you without terrifying you. I have sent flowers on the days you cried yourself to sleep. How do you know when horror flooded her veins, cold and sharp? Have you been stalking me? Protecting you, he corrected, and suddenly he was right there, towering over her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body despite the freezing rain. From the men who followed you home from the subway. From the landlord who tried to enter your apartment with his spare key at 2 a.m. From every threat you never even saw because I made sure they disappeared before they could touch you. Lily's back hit the brick wall of a building. Trapped. You're insane. Yes. His hands came up, palms flat against the brick on either side of her head, caging her in. This close, she could see the sharp angles of his face, the way his pupils were blown wide, the faint tremor in his jaw like he was fighting some massive internal battle. Insane. Obsessed. Desperate. All of the above. But I am also done waiting. For what? She breathed, hating how her voice shook. His forehead dropped to hers, and his next words were barely a whisper, for you to see me. Not the money. Not the mystery. Me. Thunder cracked so loud it rattled windows, and Lily felt it, the shift in him. Violent. Primal. His hands curled into fists against the brick, and she heard stone crack under his knuckles. Impossible. Impossible. If you ignore me again, Lucian said, each word deliberate and edged with something that sounded like agony, if you walk away tonight and pretend this conversation never happened, I will not ask permission anymore. I will not hover in the background like some pathetic ghost. I will take what is mine, and I will make sure the entire world knows you belong to me. I don't belong to anyone, Lily shot back, fear giving way to fury. His laugh was broken. Tell that to my soul. Tell that to the part of me that's been screaming your name for 3 years. She shoved at his chest, solid as iron, immovable, and something in her snapped. Leave. Me. Alone. The words hung in the air between them, sharp as a blade. And Lucian broke. His eyes flashed gold again, brighter this time, and his hands, oh God, his hands, the fingers were lengthening, nails sharpening into claws that scraped against the brick. A low, inhuman sound rumbled from his chest, and then the Lycan king did the last thing Lily expected. He dropped to his knees in the rain-soaked street, pressed his forehead to her paint-stained fingers, and trembled. Please, he whispered, and his voice was layered now, doubled, like a man and a beast speaking in harmony. Please, Lily. See me. Choose me. Because if you walk away tonight. His claws dug into the pavement, cracking asphalt. I will burn this world down to keep you. Lily's first coherent thought was, I'm losing my mind. Her second, his hands are not human. She stared down at Lucian Vanderholt, billionaire, recluse, and apparently something straight out of a fever dream, kneeling in a puddle at her feet. Rain hammered down on his broad shoulders, plastering his black hair to his skull, but he didn't move. Didn't even seem to breathe. Just stayed there, forehead pressed to her trembling fingers, waiting. Those weren't hands anymore. They were claws. Actual, honest-to-God claws, curved and sharp and lethal, scraping against the cracked asphalt like they could tear through steel. Let me go, Lily whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. Lucian's grip on her hand tightened, not enough to hurt, but enough to keep her anchored. I can't, he said hoarsely. If I let you go, you'll run. And if you run. His shoulders shook. I won't be able to stop what comes next. What are you? The question hung between them, heavy and impossible. Slowly, so slowly it hurt to watch, Lucian lifted his head. His eyes, God, his eyes, were no longer the stormy gray she'd seen across coffee shops and galleries. They were molten gold, glowing like twin suns, and the pupils had narrowed to vertical slits. Wolf eyes. I think you already know, he said quietly. Lily's knees threatened to buckle. She'd read the stories, of course. Everyone had. Urban legends about werewolves in Manhattan, creatures that walked among humans wearing expensive suits and fake smiles. But those were stories. Fiction. The kind of thing you laughed about over drinks with friends. Except she had no friends anymore. Not after Damien. The memory hit her like a physical blow, her ex-fiancé's charming smile, the way he promised her forever while systematically isolating her from everyone she loved, draining her bank account, and finally leaving her for his pregnant mistress. The humiliation. The betrayal. The way she'd had to rebuild herself from nothing, painting in secret, hiding behind a pseudonym because she couldn't bear for anyone to know how completely she'd been destroyed. You're not real, she said, but even as the words left her mouth, she knew they were a lie. The heat radiating from his body was real. The claws still pressed to her hand were real. The desperate, feral need in those inhuman eyes was devastatingly real. Lucian's jaw clenched. I have never been more real, little painter. And I have never lied to you. You've barely spoken to me. Because every time I tried, you looked at me like I was him. The words came out rough, edged with frustration. Like I was another rich bastard who wanted to own you. Collect you. Break you. His claws retracted slowly, painfully, sliding back into human fingers that shook. I would rather cut out my own heart than hurt you, Lily. But you won't let me close enough to prove it. She should run. Every instinct screamed at her to bolt, to put as much distance between herself and this creature, as physically possible. But her feet wouldn't move. Because beneath the fear, beneath the shock, there was something else. Recognition. She'd felt it every time he appeared in her orbit over the past 3 years. That strange pull, like gravity shifting, like her soul knew something her brain refused to accept. And the flowers, God, the flowers. White lilies delivered to her apartment on the anniversary of her mother's death. Red roses on the day Damien left. Forget-me-nots when she'd sold her first painting under her pseudonym, even though nobody was supposed to know about that. How did you know? She whispered. About the crying. About the bad days. How could you possibly? I feel it. Lucian rose to his feet in one fluid motion, towering over her again, but this time he kept his distance. Careful. Controlled. When you hurt, it's like someone's driving knives into my chest. When you're afraid, my wolf goes insane trying to reach you. When you smile, his voice cracked. When you smile, it's the only time I remember what it's like to be human. Lily's breath hitched. That's not possible. It shouldn't be. He dragged a hand through his wet hair, and she saw the exhaustion carved into every line of his face. But 3 years ago, I walked into a gallery opening, some pretentious bullshit event my lawyers insisted I attend for networking. I was going to stay 10 minutes, make an appearance, leave. Then I caught your scent. My scent. His eyes closed, and a shudder ran through his entire body. Jasmine and turpentine. Coffee and rainstorms. Human. Fragile. Mine, the last word came out as a growl. My wolf knew instantly. You're my mate, Lily. My fated mate. The one I've been cursed to search for across centuries. The world tilted sideways. Lily's back hit the brick wall again, less from Lucian's proximity and more because her legs had simply given up. Mate, she repeated numbly. As in, soulmate? Destiny? That kind of insane supernatural bullshit? Yes. And you've known this for 3 years and just, what? Stalked me from afar. Bought my art. Sent creepy anonymous gifts. Lucian's expression darkened. I was trying not to terrify you. Well, mission failed. Lily's voice cracked into something dangerously close to hysterical laughter. You know what? This is perfect. This is exactly my luck. I finally start putting my life back together after my ex-fiancé destroyed me, and apparently, I'm fated to be claimed by a... She gestured wildly at him. A werewolf billionaire with stalker tendencies. I am not a stalker, Lucian bit out. I'm your protector. Same thing. It's not, he stopped, visibly wrestling for control. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, dangerous. Do you want to know why I stayed away, Lily? Why I didn't just walk up to you that first night and introduce myself like a normal man? Enlighten me. Because I'm cursed. The admission came out flat, emotionless. The Lycan king doesn't get to claim his mate through force or deception. She has to choose him freely, with full knowledge of what he is. No compulsion. No lies. And if she refuses? His hands curled into fists. If she denies him 3 times under the full moon, the curse breaks his control. He becomes the monster everyone fears. Unstoppable. Uncontrollable. A killing machine that will slaughter anyone who tries to keep him from his mate. Ice flooded Lily's veins. That's insane. That's my reality. Lucian's gold eyes pinned her in place. For 3 years, I have fought my nature. I have watched you heal, watched you grow stronger, waited for the day you might be ready to hear the truth. But the full moon is in 3 days, Lily. 3 days. And if you reject me again. Again. I never. Every time you walked away from me in a coffee shop, that was a rejection. Every time you left a room when I entered, that was a rejection. Every polite, icy smile you gave me when I tried to start a conversation, his voice turned savage. Do you have any idea what that does to a creature who would burn down entire cities just to hear you say his name? Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. So what, I'm supposed to just, accept this? Accept you? Because of some supernatural curse? No. The single word was firm. Final. I want you to choose me because you want to. Because you see past the money and the monster and recognize what I've known since the moment I scented you, we belong together. That's not how the real world works. This stopped being the real world the second you walked into my life. Before Lily could respond, before she could even process the absolute insanity of the conversation, a new voice cut through the storm. Well, well. Isn't this cozy? Lily's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. Smooth. Charming. The voice that had promised her forever and delivered only ashes. Damien stepped out of the shadows across the street, flanked by two men in dark suits. Her ex-fiancé looked exactly as she remembered, classically handsome, perfectly styled, wearing a smile that didn't reach his cold blue eyes. But there was something different about him now. Something predatory in the way he moved. Lily, sweetheart, Damien said, his tone dripping false concern. I've been looking for you. We have unfinished business. Lucian moved so fast he was a blur. 1 second he was beside Lily, the next he was between her and Damien, his body a wall of lethal protection. A growl rumbled from his chest, deep, inhuman, and absolutely terrifying. Leave, Lucian said, each word edged with violence. Now. While you still can. Damien's smile widened. Oh, I don't think so. You see, Lucian, I know exactly what you are. And more importantly, his eyes shifted, glowing amber in the darkness. I know what I am too. No. No. Damien's face began to change, bones cracking and reforming, teeth lengthening into fangs. Not as dramatic as whatever Lucian was, but unmistakable. Werewolf. Surprise, baby, Damien said to Lily, his voice distorting as his transformation began. Did you really think a human could have captivated me? You were always meant to be mine. My omega. My property. And when Lucian's curse breaks in 3 days and he goes feral, the council will put him down like the rabid dog he is. Then there'll be no one to stop me from taking what's mine. Lily couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The man who'd destroyed her, who'd systematically isolated her, manipulated her, left her broken, was a werewolf. Had always been a werewolf. And he'd come back for her. Lucian's claws exploded from his hands again, longer this time, deadly. Touch her, he said quietly, and I'll rip out your throat. Damien laughed. You can't. Not without breaking pack law. Not without proving you've lost control. He took a step forward. But I can wait. 3 days, old friend. Then she'll be mine, and you'll be dead. The two men flanking Damien shifted, their bodies beginning to contort and change. A trap. This was a trap designed to make Lucian lose control, to prove he was too dangerous to live. And Lily, still reeling, still trying to process that her entire past relationship had been a lie, realized with crystal clarity that she was standing at the center of a war she hadn't even known existed. Lucian turned his head just slightly, those golden eyes finding hers. I need you to run, he said softly. Right now. Please. But Lily's feet were rooted to the ground. Because despite everything, despite the fear and shock and overwhelming impossibility of it all, one thought crystallized in her mind with absolute certainty. If Lucian was the monster, Damien was the nightmare. And she'd already survived one nightmare. Maybe it was time to choose the monster instead. Lily didn't run. She couldn't explain why. Maybe it was stubbornness, maybe it was the 3 years of therapy she'd paid for after Damien destroyed her, or maybe it was the way Lucian's entire body had gone rigid with the effort of not shifting, not killing, not proving every terrible thing Damien wanted the world to believe about him. No, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Lucian's head whipped around. Lily. I said no. She stepped forward, moving to stand beside him instead of behind him. Damien's amber eyes tracked the movement, his smile sharpening into something cruel. I'm not running from you again, Damien. Not this time. Her ex-fiancé's transformation paused mid-shift, bones cracking back into place as he returned to his human form. Well, this is unexpected. The little mouse grew a spine. He tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle he'd once solved and couldn't quite figure out anymore. Tell me, sweetheart, does he know? Does your precious Lycan king know that you're barren? The word hit like a physical blow. Lily felt the air leave her lungs, felt the old shame and grief claw up her throat. After the miscarriage, the baby she'd lost at 6 months because Damien had pushed her down the stairs during an argument he later claimed was just a disagreement, the doctors had told her the damage was irreversible. No children. Not ever. Damien had left her 2 weeks later. Baron Omega, Damien continued, his voice carrying across the rain-soaked street. Can't give the Lycan king an heir. Can't fulfill the most basic purpose of a mate. What good are you to him, really? Just a broken human playing dress-up in a world she doesn't belong to. Lucian moved so fast Lily didn't even see it. One moment he was beside her, the next his hand was wrapped around Damien's throat, lifting him off the ground. The 2 men flanking Damien lunged forward, but Lucian's growl stopped them mid-step, a sound so primal, so absolutely alpha, that even Lily felt the compulsion to submit thrumming through her bones. Say one more word about her, Lucian said, his voice barely recognizable, and council law won't matter. I will end you. Damien choked out a laugh. Do it. Prove you're the monster everyone says you are. For a heartbeat, Lily thought Lucian would. She saw it in the tension coiling through his body, the way his claws pressed against Damien's skin hard enough to draw blood. But then his eyes found hers, still gold, still inhuman, but somehow desperate, and she understood. This was the choice. Right here. Right now. If Lucian killed Damien, he'd be declaring himself out of control. The council would hunt him down, and the curse would be irrelevant because he'd be dead. But if he let Damien go, if he showed restraint. Lily touched his arm. Just a light pressure, her fingers barely making contact. Let him go. Lily. Please. The single word seemed to break something in him. Lucian's hand opened, and Damien dropped to the pavement, gasping. The 2 enforcers helped him up, and Damien straightened his jacket with shaking hands, his smile gone. 3 days, he said hoarsely, backing away. Enjoy your restraint while it lasts, King. When the full moon rises and she rejects you, because she will, they always do, I'll be waiting to claim what should have been mine from the beginning. Then he was gone, disappearing into the storm with his enforcers, leaving Lily and Lucian alone in the rain-soaked street. The silence stretched between them, heavy and fractured. You didn't have to do that, Lucian said finally, his voice rough. The gold was fading from his eyes, bleeding back to storm gray, but his hands were still shaking. Defend me. Stand beside me. After everything I just told you. He's lying, Lily interrupted. About me being useless to you. About me not belonging. He's lying, right? Lucian turned to face her fully, and the raw honesty in his expression nearly broke her. I don't care if you can't have children, Lily. I've lived for centuries. I've built empires and watched them fall. The only thing that matters to me, the only thing, is you. Breathing. Safe. Choosing to exist in the same world as me. Something cracked in her chest. That's insane. Yes. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I believe we've established I'm insane when it comes to you. Despite everything, despite the fear and confusion and earth-shattering revelations, Lily felt an answering smile tug at her mouth. You're completely unhinged. Completely, he agreed. Then his expression sobered. But Damien wasn't entirely wrong. You don't belong in this world, Lily. It's dangerous. Brutal. Full of creatures who would use you to get to me. If you walk away right now, I'll make sure you're protected. Set you up somewhere safe. Somewhere he can never find you. And you? His jaw clenched. I'll manage the curse. Somehow. Liar. The word came out soft but certain. You said if I reject you again, you'll lose control. So what happens? You lock yourself in some bunker and hope for the best. Something like that. That's not a plan. That's suicide. It's the only option that keeps you safe. Lily stared at this impossible man, this creature, this king, who'd spent 3 years watching over her from the shadows, learning her heartbreaks, sending flowers on her worst days, and was now offering to destroy himself rather than force her hand. Okay, I need you guys to weigh in here because this is huge. Comment below, should Lily trust Lycan, or is this moving too fast? I'm dying to know what you think. And if you're as obsessed with this story as I am, smash that subscribe button, ***. Damien had promised her forever and delivered only pain. Lycan was promising her nothing except honesty and a choice. Maybe that was the difference. I need time, she said finally. 3 days, you said? Until the full moon. Yes. Then give me 3 days. Let me process this. Figure out what I want. She met his eyes. But Lycan? Don't disappear. Don't go back to watching from afar. If I'm going to make this choice, I need to actually know you. Something like hope flickered across his face, fragile and devastating. You mean? I mean take me to dinner. Like a normal person. No supernatural drama. No threats. Just, you and me. Talking. I can do that. He said it like she'd just offered him the world. Lycan picked her up at 8 the next evening. Lily had spent the entire day in a daze, mechanically going through the motions of her life while her brain tried to reconcile reality with everything she'd learned. Werewolves were real. Her ex-fiancé was one. The gorgeous billionaire who'd been orbiting her life for 3 years was their king. And apparently, she was his fated mate, whatever that meant. She'd changed outfits 4 times before settling on a simple black dress, elegant but not trying too hard. When the knock came at her apartment door, her heart launched into her throat. Lycan stood in the hallway looking unfairly handsome in dark slacks and a gray button-down that matched his eyes. Human eyes tonight. No gold. No claws. Just a man holding a bouquet of white lilies, looking almost nervous. You remembered, Lily said softly, taking the flowers. I remember everything about you. He paused. Is that creepy? That feels creepy. A laugh bubbled up before she could stop it. Maybe a little. But after yesterday, creepy is relative. The restaurant he'd chosen was perfect. Intimate without being claustrophobic, elegant without being pretentious. They sat by a window overlooking Central Park, and for the first hour, they talked about nothing important. Art. Books. Her favorite coffee order, vanilla latte with an extra shot. His irrational hatred of modern architecture. It was so normal that Lily almost forgot what he was. Then the waiter brought wine, and Lycan's hand shook slightly as he reached for his glass. How long? Lily asked quietly. How long have you been, you know? A werewolf? He took a sip, considering. I was born this way. 347 years ago in what's now Romania. The Lycan king isn't a title you earn, it's a bloodline. A curse and a gift tangled together. 347 years. Lily tried to wrap her mind around it. You've lived through everything. Wars. Revolutions. The invention of the Internet. The Internet was particularly confusing, he admitted with a slight smile. Then it faded. But immortality isn't the gift people think it is, Lily. Everyone you love dies. Everything you build eventually crumbles. After a while, you stop connecting. Stop feeling. It's easier that way. Until I walked into that gallery and caught your scent. His eyes met hers, intense. For the first time in over a century, I felt alive. Terrified and obsessed and completely out of control, but alive. Lily's breath caught. Damien said something yesterday. About me being an Omega. What does that mean? Lucian's expression darkened. In werewolf hierarchy, there are alphas, betas, and omegas. Alphas lead. Betas follow. Omegas. He hesitated. They're rare. Powerful in their own way. They can soothe an alpha's rage, anchor them. But some alphas see omegas as property. Things to be controlled. And you? I see you as my equal. My choice. My mate, if you'll have me. He leaned forward. But here's what Damien didn't tell you, you're not a werewolf Omega, Lily. You're human. Which means you shouldn't register as an Omega at all, and yet. He inhaled slowly. Your scent is pure Omega. It's impossible. You're impossible. The revelation hung between them. So what does that mean? Lily whispered. I don't know. Frustration bled into his voice. I've consulted every elder, every scholar. No one's ever heard of a human Omega before. It's like you were made for me, but that's impossible, she finished. Yes. Lily's mind raced. Her entire life, she'd felt like she didn't quite fit. Too sensitive. Too intuitive. Able to read people's emotions like they were written on their skin. She'd always attributed it to her traumatic childhood, but what if? There's something else, Lucian said, his voice dropping. The curse. I need you to understand exactly what's at stake. Tell me. If you reject me 3 times under the full moon, not just walking away, but an explicit rejection, my wolf will take over completely. I'll hunt you down, claim you by force, and kill anyone who tries to stop me. The council will have no choice but to execute me, but not before I've destroyed half of Manhattan trying to get to you. His hands clenched on the table. That's why I stayed away, Lily. Because the thought of hurting you, of forcing you, is worse than any death. But if I don't reject you, then the curse breaks. I can claim you as my mate freely, and you'll be bound to me, protected by every pack law, untouchable. He paused. But there's a catch. The mating bond is permanent. Unbreakable. You'd feel my emotions. I'd feel yours. For the rest of your life, which, bonded to me, would be significantly extended, you'd be tied to a monster. Lily's wine glass trembled in her hand. That's a lot. I know. And if I say yes, Damien will be dealt with. The promise in Lucian's voice was absolute. He violated pack law by abandoning his Omega. By hurting you. The council just needs proof, and I'll make sure they get it. The waiter appeared to clear their plates, and the interruption gave Lily a moment to breathe. When they were alone again, she asked the question that had been burning in her mind since yesterday. Why me? Out of everyone in the world, everyone you've met in 347 years, why me? Lucian was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you remember the first painting I bought? Midnight Solitude. Yeah. Do you know why I bought it? Lily shook her head. Because I saw myself in it. His voice went soft. That figure standing alone in the darkness, surrounded by color and life but unable to touch any of it. That was me, Lily. For centuries. And then I walked into that gallery, and there you were, the artist who understood loneliness so completely she could paint it, and something in my soul just knew. You were the answer to a question I'd stopped asking. Tears pricked Lily's eyes. Lucian. His phone buzzed. Once. Twice. 3 times in rapid succession. Lucian's expression shifted, going hard and cold. He pulled out his phone, read the messages, and went absolutely still. What is it? Lily asked. When he looked up, his eyes were already shifting to gold. Damien just filed a formal challenge with the council, he said quietly. He's claiming you as his abandoned Omega and demanding I relinquish my claim. And he brought proof. What proof? Lucian turned his phone around, showing her a photograph. It was Lily, taken 3 years ago, wearing the engagement ring Damien had given her. But it wasn't just any photo, it had been doctored to include a bite mark on her neck. A claiming mark. Fake. Completely fake. But incredibly convincing. If the council believes this, Lucian said, his voice deadly calm, they'll rule that you were his mate first. Which means my claim is invalid. And in 2 days, when the full moon rises and I lose control trying to protect you from him. They'll kill you, Lily finished, horror flooding her veins. Yes. The restaurant suddenly felt too small, too bright, too normal for the nightmare unfolding around them. Damien hadn't just come back to reclaim her. He'd come back to destroy the one thing standing between him and her, Lucian himself. And he was going to use her as the weapon. The council chambers were everything Lily had imagined from a supernatural governing body, cold stone walls, vaulted ceilings, and an atmosphere so thick with power it made her skin crawl. She sat beside Lucian in the gallery section, his hand wrapped around hers like a lifeline, while 12 werewolf elders deliberated her fate from their raised platform. Damien stood at the center of the chamber floor, the picture of wounded righteousness in an expensive suit, playing his role perfectly. The evidence is clear, he said, his voice carrying through the cavernous space. Lily Hayes was my betrothed. I marked her as my Omega 3 years ago. Our relationship ended badly, I'll admit I handled things poorly, but the bond was formed. She is mine under pack law. He gestured to the doctored photo projected on the wall behind him, Lily's face smiling beside the fabricated claiming mark. The Lycan King's obsession with her is understandable, Omegas are rare, intoxicating, but his claim supersedes established bonds. He must relinquish her. Lily's nails dug into her palms. Every word was a lie wrapped in just enough truth to be believable. Elder Thorne, a silver-haired woman who looked like she could bench-press a car, leaned forward. Ms. Hayes. Do you remember receiving this mark? No, Lily said firmly. Because it never happened. That photo is fake. Trauma can suppress memories, Damien interjected smoothly. Especially in human Omegas. The marking process is intense. It's not uncommon for. I was never marked, Lily cut him off, her voice ringing clear. Damien was abusive. He isolated me from my friends and family. He drained my bank accounts. He pushed me down the stairs and caused me to lose our child, then abandoned me when I couldn't have more. He was never a mate, he was a monster. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Damien's expression flickered, just for a second, before sliding back into wounded confusion. She's clearly been influenced by the Lycan King. Everyone knows his reputation. His obsessive nature. Is it any surprise she's repeating whatever story he's fed her? Lucian's hand tightened on hers, his entire body vibrating with barely contained rage. His eyes had been gold since they'd entered the building, his wolf too close to the surface. In 36 hours, the full moon would rise. If the council ruled against him before then. Elder Thorne studied them both with ancient, knowing eyes. The claiming mark in the photo appears genuine. However, Ms. Hayes's injuries from 3 years ago are also documented. Hospital records show a miscarriage resulting from blunt force trauma, consistent with her accusations. She paused. This council does not take kindly to males who harm their omegas, Mr. Hayes. Damien's jaw tightened. It was an accident. She fell. Down the stairs, Elder Marcus interrupted, a bear of a man with scars crisscrossing his face. Backward. With enough force to cause catastrophic internal damage. An interesting accident. The mark is still proof. The mark is circumstantial, Elder Thorne cut him off. And can be fabricated with modern technology. What cannot be fabricated, however, is a true mate bond. Her gaze shifted to Lucian. Your Majesty. You claim Miss Hayes is your fated mate? Yes. Lucian's voice was granite. Then prove it. The chamber went silent. A fated mate bond creates physiological changes in both parties, Elder Thorne continued. If she is truly yours, your wolf will respond to her presence in measurable ways. We will conduct the trial of recognition. Lily's stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means, Elder Marcus said, not unkindly, we separate you from both males. Place you behind a barrier where neither can see or scent you directly. Then we observe whose wolf reacts more strongly to your distress. My distress. The trial requires discomfort. Elder Thorne's expression was apologetic. Nothing permanently harmful, but enough stress to trigger a mate's protective instincts. If Lucian is truly your fated mate, his response will be undeniable. Lucian shot to his feet. Absolutely not. You are not putting her through. It's the only way to prove the bond, Damien interrupted, and Lily heard the satisfaction in his voice. He thought he'd won. Thought whatever fake mark he'd created would be enough to trigger a response in him, to convince the council. He didn't understand what she'd felt standing beside Lucian in the rain. The pull. The recognition. The way her entire soul had screamed mine even as her brain tried to rationalize it away. I'll do it, Lily said quietly. Lily, no. She turned to Lucian, cupping his face in her hands, forcing him to meet her eyes. I trust you, she whispered. I trust this, whatever this is between us. So let me prove it. Something raw and desperate flashed across his face. If they hurt you, you'll know. And you'll come for me. She managed a shaky smile. That's kind of the point, isn't it? They took her to a chamber deep in the council building, windowless, soundproofed, separated from the main hall by thick walls and a spelled barrier that would suppress her scent. 2 female enforcers flanked her, not unkind but absolutely professional. How does this work? Lily asked, trying to keep her voice steady. We'll cause you pain, one enforcer said bluntly. A tall woman with braided red hair and sympathetic eyes. Not severe, but enough to trigger a mate response. If either male is truly bonded to you, they'll react violently to your distress, attempts to break through the barrier, loss of control, physical manifestation of rage. And if both react? Then we measure the intensity. A fated mate bond is unmistakable. They placed her in a chair in the center of the room. No restraints, but nowhere to run. The first enforcer pulled out a silver knife. Silver burns werewolves, she explained, seeing Lily's expression. But it also burns omegas bonded to them. If you're truly marked by Damien, this will hurt. If you're fated to Lucian, it will hurt differently. And if you're unbonded. She trailed off. It'll just hurt like normal. Lily finished dryly. A ghost of a smile. Something like that. The blade touched her forearm. Pain exploded through Lily's nervous system, white-hot and vicious. She bit back a scream, refusing to give Damien the satisfaction, but God, it burned. Not just her arm, her entire body felt like it was being torn apart from the inside out. Through the walls, she heard it. Roaring. Inhuman and absolutely feral. The sound of stone cracking, of metal shrieking, of something massive throwing itself against an immovable barrier again and again. Lucian. The enforcers exchanged glances. That's more intense than usual, Redhair murmured. The knife lifted, and the pain receded. Lily gasped, sweat soaking through her dress. Her arm bore a red mark but was already healing, faster than it should. Impossibly fast. Interesting, the second enforcer said. You're healing like a bonded Omega. But she wasn't marked, Redhair argued. There's no scar, no evidence of. A different sound cut through the air. Quieter than Lucian's rage but somehow more calculated. Damien's voice, muffled by walls, calling to her. Lily, baby, I'm here. I'm coming for you. Nothing. She felt absolutely nothing hearing his voice. No pull. No recognition. Just the same cold revulsion she'd felt when he'd shown up in the rain. But when Lucian roared again, a sound so broken, so desperate it made her chest physically ache, every cell in her body screamed to go to him. The enforcers saw it. The way her pupils dilated. The way her breathing synchronized with the rhythm of Lucian's assault on the barrier. The way her hand pressed against her sternum like she could reach through flesh and bone to touch the thing connecting her to him. Mother of wolves, Redhair breathed. It's real. The bond is real. They brought Lily back to the council chamber 20 minutes later. Her arm still bore a faint red mark from the silver, healing in real time as the elders watched with fascinated eyes. Lucian stood across the room, held back by 4 enforcers, his eyes pure molten gold and his shirt torn from where he'd partially shifted trying to break through the barrier. The moment Lily entered the room, his struggling stopped. His entire focus zeroed in on her, and the naked relief on his face nearly broke her. She's unhurt, Elder Thorn announced to the room. And the trial results are conclusive. Damien stood frozen, his confident smile finally slipping. Ms. Hayes showed no physiological response to your distress calls, Mr. Hayes, Elder Marcus said flatly. However, her response to the Lycan King's presence was unmistakable. Accelerated healing, synchronized breathing, pupil dilation, and a bond resonance we haven't seen in over a century. He leaned forward. The photo you submitted is a forgery. The claiming mark never existed. You lied to this council. She's been manipulated, Damien started. Enough. Elder Thorn's voice cracked like a whip. You abandoned your betrothed after causing her physical harm. You fabricated evidence to support a false claim. And you attempted to interfere with a true fated mate bond, one of the rarest and most sacred connections in our world. She stood, and her power filled the room like a living thing. Damien Hayes, you are hereby stripped of your pack affiliations and exiled from all territories under council jurisdiction. If you are found within 100 miles of Lily Hayes or the Lycan King, the sentence is death. Damien's face twisted with rage. You can't. We can. And we have. Elder Marcus nodded to the enforcers. Remove him. As they dragged Damien from the chamber, screaming threats and obscenities that echoed off the stone walls, the enforcers holding Lucian finally released him. He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled Lily into his arms, his entire body shaking. Never again, he growled against her hair. You are never going through something like that again. I'm okay, Lily whispered, even though her arms still throbbed and her heart was racing. We proved it. The bond is real. Lucian pulled back just enough to look at her, his hands cupping her face with devastating gentleness. The bond was always real, little painter. But now the whole world knows it. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Which means in 34 hours, when the full moon rises, you need to make a choice. Accept the bond fully, let me claim you as my mate, or reject me and end this. Those aren't really choices, Lily said. One ends with you as a monster, and the other binds you to me for the rest of your life, he finished quietly. I know. It's not fair. You deserve time, space, a normal courtship. But the curse doesn't care about fair. Elder Thorn cleared her throat. If I may, Your Majesty. Lucian's jaw clenched, but he turned, keeping Lily tucked against his side. The trial revealed something unusual, Elder Thorn said, her ancient eyes fixed on Lily. Your healing rate, Ms. Hayes. The way you responded to Silver. These are not human traits, yet our tests confirm you have no werewolf DNA. She paused. Has anyone in your family ever exhibited unusual abilities? Lily's mind raced. I was in foster care from age 6. I don't know anything about my biological parents. May I? Elder Thorn approached, holding out her hand. Lily glanced at Lucian, who nodded slightly. She placed her hand in the elder's weathered palm. Elder Thorn closed her eyes, and Lily felt something, a strange warmth, a probing sensation that made her skin prickle. After a long moment, the elder's eyes snapped open, wide with shock. Impossible, she breathed. What? Lucian demanded. What is it? She's not just human, Your Majesty. Elder Thorn's voice shook slightly. She's a dormant shifter. Born to a bloodline we thought extinct, the moon blessed. Humans who carry latent werewolf genes that only activate under specific conditions. Her gaze shifted between them. Specifically, when they meet their true fated mate. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Lily's legs buckled. Lucian caught her, lowering them both to the floor, his arms wrapped around her like a fortress. What does that mean? Lily whispered. It means, Elder Thorn said gently, that you were always meant to be his Omega, Lily. Your DNA has been waiting your entire life for him to activate it. And when he claims you under the full moon tomorrow night, if you accept him, you'll complete your transformation. You'll become what you were always meant to be. A werewolf, Lily said numbly. An Omega Luna, Elder Marcus corrected. The Lycan King's true mate. The first in over 300 years. Lily looked up at Lucian, whose expression was a complicated tangle of wonder and fear. You knew, she accused softly. Didn't you? That I was different. I suspected, he admitted. But I didn't want to influence your choice. I wanted you to choose me because you wanted me, not because of destiny or biology. And now. His hand came up to cradle her face. Now I'm asking you, begging you, to choose me anyway. Not because of what you might become, but because of what we already are together. His voice dropped to something raw and honest. I love you, Lily. I have loved you since the moment I saw you standing in that gallery, looking like loneliness personified. I have loved you through 3 years of silence and distance and fear. And I will love you whether you accept this bond or not. Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks. That's not fair. I know. You're supposed to be the big bad werewolf, not the romantic hero. I can be both, he said with a ghost of a smile. I'm complicated. Despite everything, despite the impossible revelation and the ticking clock and the fate of the world hanging on her decision, Lily laughed. It bubbled up from somewhere deep and genuine, and Lucian's smile widened in response, real and devastating. 34 hours, she said. 34 hours, he confirmed. And if I say yes, I become a werewolf. Your mate. Your Luna. Yes. And if I say no, I lose control, probably kill a dozen people, and the council executes me. He said it matter-of-factly. But you'll be free. That's not freedom, Lily whispered. That's a nightmare. Maybe. His thumb caught a tear on her cheek. But it's your choice, little painter. It always was. Lily closed her eyes, feeling the bond between them, that invisible thread she'd been ignoring for 3 years, pulling taut. She thought about Damien and his cruelty disguised as love. She thought about Lucian and his obsession wrapped in protection. She thought about the girl she'd been and the woman she was becoming. And she thought about the fact that for the first time in 3 years, standing in this impossible situation with this impossible man, she felt alive. Take me home, she said finally. Lily. Not your home. Our home. For the next 34 hours, I want to know everything about you. The real you. And then, when the full moon rises, she opened her eyes, meeting his gold gaze steadily. I'll give you my answer. The hope that blazed across Lucian's face was almost blinding. Lucian's penthouse was nothing like Lily expected. She'd imagined cold minimalism, the kind of sterile luxury that screamed rich man with no soul. Instead, she walked into warmth. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, yes, but also overstuffed bookshelves, artwork covering every wall, including 3 of her own paintings she'd thought were sold to strangers, and a kitchen that actually looked used. You cook? She asked, touching the worn handle of a cast-iron skillet. 347 years is a long time to eat takeout. Lucian stood in the doorway, watching her explore with an expression caught between hope and terror. I'll make you dinner. Anything you want. Answers, Lily said, turning to face him. I want answers. You said I could know everything. So talk. For the next 6 hours, Lucian talked. He told her about his childhood in Romania, born to a bloodline cursed by a witch who'd lost her own mate to his great-grandfather's cruelty. He told her about watching his family die, plague, war, time, until he was the last one left. He told her about building his fortune across centuries, moving from country to country, identity to identity, always alone. The curse was specific, he explained as they sat on his couch, untouched pasta growing cold between them. I would live forever, but I could never claim my mate through force or deception. She had to choose me freely, knowing exactly what I was. And if she rejected me 3 times under a full moon. He swallowed hard. The beast takes over. Permanently. How many mates have you had? Lily asked quietly. You're the first. His eyes met hers. In 347 years, you're the only one who's ever triggered the bond. I'd started to think the witch made it impossible, that I was cursed to search forever for something that didn't exist. His hand found hers. Then I walked into that gallery and saw you standing in front of your painting, and my wolf recognized you instantly. Like coming home after centuries of wandering. Lily's throat tightened. Why didn't you just tell me? 3 years, Lucian. 3 years of watching from afar when you could have. Could have what? Walked up to you fresh from Damien's betrayal and said, Hi, I'm a 347-year-old werewolf king and you're my fated mate. His laugh was bitter. You would have run. Or thought I was insane. I needed you to heal first. To remember who you were without him. I needed you to be strong enough to make this choice. So you bought my paintings. I wanted pieces of your soul. He said it without shame. Every painting was a window into your heart, and I was desperate to understand you. To know what made you laugh, what made you cry, what you dreamed about. His thumb traced circles on her palm. The night you painted, storm breaking, the one with the figure finally stepping into the light, I knew you were ready. That's when I started appearing more. Testing the waters. Hoping. And I kept pushing you away. You were protecting yourself. Lucian's other hand came up to cup her face. I never blamed you for that, Lily. Not once. She leaned into his touch, and something inside her chest ached. Tell me about the claiming. What happens if I say yes? His eyes flashed gold. I mark you here, his fingers ghosted over her neck, right where it met her shoulder. It's intense. Painful for a moment, then overwhelming. The bond snaps fully into place, and you'll feel everything I feel. My emotions. My wolf. And your dormant genes will activate. You'll shift for the first time. Does it hurt? The first shift. Yes. He didn't lie to her. Like every bone in your body breaking and reforming. But I'll be there. I'll help you through it. And after, his voice turned reverent. After, you'll be faster, stronger. You'll heal from almost anything. And you'll live as long as I do. Forever, Lily whispered. Forever, he confirmed. With me. As my mate. My Luna. My equal in every way. His forehead dropped to hers. But Lily, you need to understand, if you do this, there's no going back. The bond is permanent. Even if you grow to hate me, even if you regret this choice, you'll be bound to me until one of us dies. That's a lot of pressure. I know. That's why I'm giving you the choice. It's the only thing the curse allows me to give you. Lily pulled back slightly, studying his face. The sharp angles, the storm-gray eyes that kept flashing gold, the vulnerability he was trying so hard to hide. This creature, this king, had spent 3 years learning how to love her from a distance. Had fought his nature, his curse, his very instincts to give her time to heal. Damien had promised her forever and delivered only pain. Lucian was promising her pain and delivering something that felt dangerously close to forever. Show me your wolf, she said suddenly. Lucian went very still. Lily. If I'm going to become one of you, I need to see what I'm agreeing to. All of it. The monster included. For a long moment, she thought he'd refuse. Then he stood, backing away from her, his hands already beginning to change. Don't run, he said, his voice already deepening. Please, little painter. Whatever you see, don't run from me. The transformation was beautiful and terrible. His body contorted, bones cracking and reforming with sickening precision. Fur erupted across his skin, midnight black with silver streaks. His face elongated into a muzzle, teeth sharpening into fangs. Within seconds, a massive wolf stood where Lucian had been, easily 7 feet tall at the shoulder, with eyes that glowed like twin suns. The Lycan king. Every instinct in Lily's body screamed at her to run. This was a predator. An apex creature designed to hunt and kill. But beneath the fear, she felt something else. That pull. That recognition. The bond singing in her veins, telling her safe, safe, mine, safe. Slowly, she stood. The wolf's eyes tracked her movement, but he didn't advance. Didn't threaten. Just watched her with an intelligence that was utterly human. Lily took 1 step toward him. Then another. The wolf's ears flattened, and a low whine emerged from his throat, not threatening, but pleading. She closed the distance and placed her hand on his massive head. The wolf shuddered, then collapsed at her feet, pressing his muzzle against her legs in absolute submission. The most powerful werewolf alive, reduced to a puppy seeking approval from his mate. "You're not a monster," Lily whispered, threading her fingers through his fur. "You're just lonely." The wolf's eyes closed, and she felt wetness against her palm. Tears. He was crying. "Lucian." She knelt down, wrapping her arms around his neck. "I see you. I see all of you. And I'm not running." The shift back was faster. Within moments, Lucian was human again, naked and trembling, his arms locked around her waist as he buried his face against her stomach. "I love you," he choked out. "God help me, I love you so much it's killing me." Lily's own tears fell freely now. "I know. But you don't have to." "I love you too," she interrupted, and felt him go absolutely still. "I think I've loved you since you sent those lilies on the anniversary of my mom's death. Since I felt someone watching over me and wasn't afraid. Since I saw you in that coffee shop and my whole world shifted." She tilted his face up, forcing him to meet her eyes. "I'm choosing you, Lucian. Not because of the curse. Not because of destiny. Because when I look at you, I see home." The hope that blazed across his face was blinding. "Are you sure?" His hands cupped her face, trembling. "Tomorrow night, the full moon. I'll be there," she promised. "And when you ask me, I'll say yes." Lucian kissed her then, desperate and gentle and absolutely consuming. Like a man who'd been drowning for 347 years and finally found air. The full moon rose over Central Park like a silver eye, bathing the world in ethereal light. Lily stood in a clearing deep in the park's heart, surrounded by the council and dozens of pack members who'd come to witness history. She wore a simple white dress, barefoot in the grass, her heart hammering so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. Lucian stood before her in dark pants and nothing else, his eyes already gold, his wolf barely contained beneath his skin. The full moon's power thrummed through the air, and Lily could feel it, that pull toward wildness, toward transformation, toward him. Elder Thorne stepped forward. "Lily Hayes. You stand here of your own free will." "I do," Lily said clearly. "You understand the nature of the bond you're about to form? The permanence? The transformation?" "I do." "And you accept Lucian Vanderholt as your mate, your alpha, your king, with full knowledge of what he is?" Lily's eyes never left Lucian's. "I accept him. All of him." The clearing erupted in howls, dozens of wolves singing their approval to the moon. Elder Thorne nodded. "Then speak your claim, your majesty." Lucian took one step forward, then dropped to his knees before her. The Lycan king, kneeling in the grass, looking up at her like she hung the stars. "Lily," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "You are my mate. My Omega. My Luna. My choice." His hands found hers. "I claim you before the moon, before my people, before the world. And I swear on my life that I will protect you, cherish you, and love you until the day I die." His voice dropped to a whisper only she could hear. "Thank you. For seeing me. For choosing me. For saving me." Tears streamed down Lily's face. "I claim you too," she whispered back. "My mate. My alpha. My home." Lucian rose, pulling her into his arms, and kissed her deeply. The moment their lips met, the bond snapped, a physical sensation like a rubber band releasing, flooding Lily's system with warmth and light and overwhelming love. Then came the pain. Lucian's teeth found the junction of her neck and shoulder and bit. Sharp. Deep. Claiming. Lily gasped against his mouth, her body arching, and she felt it, his soul pouring into hers, their emotions tangling together until she couldn't tell where she ended and he began. Love. Devotion. Relief. Joy. 3 centuries of loneliness finally ending. Mine, his wolf growled in her mind. Forever mine. Yours, she agreed. Forever yours. The claiming mark burned like fire, then cooled to a pleasant warmth. Lucian pulled back just enough to look at her, his eyes wide with wonder. I can feel you, he breathed. Your emotions. Your presence. You're here. In my head. In my heart. I feel you too, Lily gasped. Then the real pain hit. Her bones began to crack, reforming, and she screamed. Lucian held her through it, his voice a constant murmur in her ear. I've got you, you're safe, I'm here, almost done, so proud of you as her body transformed for the first time. Fur erupted across her skin, white as snow with gold streaks. Her senses exploded, suddenly she could hear heartbeats, smell emotions, see in perfect clarity. Her hands became paws, her spine elongated, and within minutes a wolf stood where Lily had been. Smaller than Lucian's massive form but no less powerful. A white Omega Luna, glowing in the moonlight. The pack howled their approval, and Lily felt it, the acceptance, the belonging, the family she'd never had. Lucian shifted beside her, his black wolf pressing against her white one, and together they lifted their muzzles to the moon and sang. The curse shattered. Lily felt it break, like chains falling away from Lucian's soul. 347 years of loneliness and isolation, finally ended. He was free. They were free. 3 months later, Lily stood in a new gallery, their gallery, the one Lucian had bought and renovated specifically to showcase her work under her real name. Her paintings covered the walls, each one a testament to her journey from brokenness to wholeness. Lucian appeared beside her, sliding his arms around her waist, pressing a kiss to her claiming mark. Nervous? Terrified, she admitted. Then smiled. But also excited. This is the first time I'm showing my work as me. Not hiding. Not afraid. You're incredible, he murmured. My fierce, talented, beautiful Luna. You're dramatic, overprotective, slightly insane alpha, she countered, and felt his laugh rumble through her back. The gallery doors opened, and people flooded in, humans and werewolves alike, drawn by the Luna's first public exhibition. Lily watched them admire her work, tears pricking her eyes as she realized something profound. For years, she'd believed Damien's betrayal had broken her beyond repair. She'd hidden behind pseudonyms and walls, convinced she'd never trust or love again. But standing here in Lucian's arms, surrounded by pack and family, showcasing her soul to the world without fear, she understood the truth. She hadn't been broken. She'd been waiting. Healing. Preparing for the moment when a lonely king would walk into a gallery and recognize his home. Thank you, she whispered to Lucian. For what? For being patient. For seeing me. For loving me enough to let me choose. Lucian turned her in his arms, his eyes, human gray now, the wolf content and calm, shining with emotion. Always, little painter. For the rest of forever. He kissed her then, in front of everyone, claiming her all over again. And Lily kissed him back, choosing him all over again, knowing with absolute certainty that she'd made the right choice. The Lycan king had found his Luna. And the Luna had found her home. Speech balloon wow. We made it, friends. What an absolutely wild journey. I'm still emotional over here. Tell me in the comments, what was your favorite part? The trial? The transformation? That final gallery scene? And if you love this story, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because I have so many more stories coming your way. Where should we go next? Drop your suggestions below. Thank you so much for being here with me. You're all incredible, and I love you. Until next time, beautiful souls. 2 hearts wolf face sparkles ***.